Right then, gang. Let's get rocking into it. So today we are going to be going through. The agenda's not going to be too big today. I'm probably going to keep this to about an hour. We've got like a little video that we're going to watch in between. It's like our main section, which we're going to react to and kind of talk about. But the way that it's going to work, normal check-in. So how are we out of 10? Kind of a little bit of background for the past week. We're then going to go into a little training section. Basically, this week talking about like how we're going to balance training and life. Going to talk a little bit about my current content strategy. So like if I think of the 3 different things that I'm most into or know a little bit about, we could say, and kind of want to use these streams for, it's going to be mental health stuff, training stuff, and then just like business stuff, kind of documenting what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, because potentially in the future, if it actually works, I can look back and be like, see, told you. That's the plan anyway. So the main section we're going to go into is a little video. If I do that, you should be able to see it. No, there. Let me refresh that because that's coming from the wrong place. Like there. So let me refresh that. Capture, media source, black screen, it always does this. Display capture. I have to restart it. Can I restart the capture? It's not refreshing. There we go. Right, finally. Bloody hell. So what we're going to go into...
You have a productivity...
This is the video we watched last week.
Back in high school, I had a friend named...
So we're going to go into Don't Hollow. Basically, if you've ever played any of the Dark Souls games, we're going to go into that today and talk about... Well, Dark Souls is an allegory for depression. There's like, I've like played games for a long time, and I think the bit that I love about, I mean, I say that I haven't turned my PlayStation on for months now, but this is really cool. I saw this probably about a year ago, and because I've always struggled with depression, and then was kind of like played in and around games similar to these, I was like, oh, this is going to be a really good thing to kind of react to and to go over. This video came out 9 years ago, so it's it's going to be really interesting for the main bit. I really look forward to that section, and then we're going to finish off with basically a little bit about like alcohol and its effects. We're not going to go into any of the like science side of it today. Just going to go into like helping you maybe make a decision if drinking is for you or not, and why you may actually want to stop. Because I think like for a lot of us who do go out and we do drink and we go out on the weekends, but we've also got these goals from a fitness perspective, or we're struggling with our mental health, drinking may not be the best thing for us. So hopefully we can start to make or help you make some decisions whether it's going to be the right thing for you or not, and when's the right thing and right time for you. As a check-in for myself, out of 10, I'm probably like a 5 this week. Again, same thing. If you ever are live during this, let me know where you're at out of 10. So I'm about a 5. It's been a rough week. Training's been all over the shop. I basically had to go back to my old house to sort some stuff out, and going back in and kind of like and seeing my ex and having a conversation about how we're dealing with the process of the house and stuff like that just brings back so much emotion that you don't even think's there. And like when you don't see them for ages, you feel great, and then you go back into it and it's almost like a little relapse. So I did that on Wednesday night, and like Wednesday night into Thursday night, I didn't get to sleep till 3 a.m. and like I was just like wired, literally just like deer in headlamps like that, which was great, which then had a knock-on effect on my training. Just lack of sleep kind of carries over to everything, and I've just felt a little bit rough as the week's gone on. and that's made that's made training really, really hard. I've still managed to hit like my main sessions throughout the week, but it has made training really, really hard. We do have we've got something positive to say though, thank God. I went on my very first ever, you could say, proper first date, which was cool. Because I've never done that before. There's a place called Wait the Tiger in Bristol. Let me get it up so we can actually see it, because I think that it would be pretty cool to see what Wait the Tiger is. For those who haven't seen it, it's really cool.
Wake the Tiger. Now moving.
It's basically like an interactive art. Basically, psilocybin mushrooms were taken over. We went there.
The UK's largest immersive art experience.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
It's really cool. It's like a kids thing, I suppose. But if you haven't been and you're in Bristol, genuinely recommend it. Because I found it was just so fun. It was just like, and there's just things to talk about. So if like for a first date, coffee, and then we went there, and then we went out for food. It was really nice. So that's positive. We're on the up in that aspect. So even though middle of the week took a very big dive, we hit the bottom. We came back up, and then went and watched rugby yesterday and slightly hungover today, which is part of the reason why we're going to go into the alcohol section, because it's a debate I've been having with myself for a while. From a training perspective and like balancing training, balancing my social life, I think it's something that I am struggling with at the moment. And one of the things that like I'm finding difficult is kind of knowing how disciplined and strict to be on myself, I suppose. And I think for a lot of people who go through similar things, if you've got a busy social life but you're trying to achieve fitness goals, I think it can be really difficult to be like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. And I think after doing the mile and the squat, I think I've just needed a couple of weeks to just reset myself, to then be able to go, right, now we're gonna push forward, and we're gonna have a normal kind of couple of weeks. I'm gonna go out with some friends. Training's way more chill, and I think I wouldn't feel it being difficult from a social perspective, like affecting my training this week, if I had the good night's sleep on the Wednesday, because that literally just knock on effect, and you just don't feel yourself the whole week then from a lack of sleep, and then going out last night and then waking up today, you don't feel yourself. So that's one of the things I'm struggling with, and the only way that I've like found a solution to it is to basically give myself just the grace to be like, it's all right to every now and again just have a normal week, have a normal week doing what normal people do, and like it's kind of been nice to just be like, I'm not so hyper fixated on training at the moment that it's just kind of taken over everything. I'm still hitting my sessions, still doing my runs, I'm still like going to the gym. Sessions are still really good, but like I brought it to be a bit more fun at the moment, purely because I know that I do need to kind of kick myself and kick my ass into gear and actually get on with it. So if you're struggling with the same thing, again, the only way I've kind of found a solution to it is periodizing it and just being like, I'm gonna have a couple of weeks where I do get to be a bit more chill. Like I'm going to watch Hybrid Minds on Friday night. After that, I don't have any more events, so it's kind of like these 3 weeks is a bit of like a maintenance phase as such with training and just like life, and then could be like, right, I've had a little bit of a blow up, I've had a little bit of a time with my mates, I've done a bit more socializing than normal. Now we can kind of dial back into like training and work wise. I think especially like this week, I wouldn't have gone out Friday, I wouldn't have gone out Saturday after the rugby, but it was after you've had like a really bad week, going out and being with your friends and having some fun is actually going to be more beneficial than me coming home and sitting again on my computer and just feeling miserable, feeling sorry for myself. So it's like, let's just not feel sorry for yourself. Let's go out, let's socialise with some different people, and let's go from there. It's not being productive with it, but it's kind of, it's hijacking it in a way which is like, or it's the story you tell yourself as to why you're doing it. So by me going out, for me, this week has allowed me to be like, actually to feel better within myself, and to then probably be more productive next week, because I haven't just been stressed and down in the dumps. It's kind of brought me back out of that. So it's like using socializing and using time with your friends as a way to help you, to like de-stress, a way to help you just have a bit of fun every now and again. So content wise, this new little, like this next section as to what I'm doing with my content, I made the choice a while ago I saw Gary Vee probably about 6 months ago be like, live's the thing, the way forward. And probably, no word of a lie, if this year had gone normal for me and been a normal year, probably around March I would have been started streaming and doing this type of stuff. But I hadn't been able to get myself to a place where I could. I think a big part of it is because, one, you put barriers in your own way. So like, I can't do it because of this, I can't do it because of that. But then it's also just being like, you've got to be in the mental space to kind of come on here, have something organized, ready to go, and you need to have a little system in place as to what the plan is and why we're doing it and how we're doing it. And it's kind of evolved as the time's gone on. But you guys will probably be seeing there's just a bigger push for content for me at the moment, and that's because the products that I was trying to make, the health and wellbeing app that I've got, we've basically made that, and then all of the little iterations and adjustments and new programs and things like that, they're like scheduled in, and they will be happening over time. So the big push for content is for me to basically allow myself to maximize the time that I spend doing content, so it doesn't take over my whole entire life. I have to edit my own videos, I have to put everything together and schedule everything and post everything. It's all just done through me, as well as coaching for like 30 plus hours on the gym floor, as well as all of my online clients, as well as doing education stuff. So it's kind of like I have my day job, and then I have the building of the business. And the building of the business for me is, at the moment, is content, because no one knows who I am, and it's writing the book, because the book is helping me build out my process for helping people to lose weight, and helping normal people to lose weight when they don't necessarily know how, and they don't necessarily want to track, for example. It's kind of giving people different ways to do it. So those are the two main big things for me at the moment. And the good thing of doing lives is I basically will do a live. From the live, I can break it down into different sections. So we could have 4 to 5 different long form videos that come out of one live stream, which is amazing, because then it means within a 2-hour period, I've created 4 or 5 videos that can then be popped out onto my YouTube. Each week I'm filming like, or each week I'm posting a longer planned filmed session, like YouTube video every week, and then 2 little ones coming from these streams. The reason we're doing it that way is because it's, again, maximizing my time, and then from all of those longer form stuff that I created from the streams, we can then create way more shorts. So you will probably be flooded, is the plan, everywhere. And basically the reason you do this is because, to some degree, you want quality within your content. So content wants to be helpful and actually beneficial to someone who is like coming to watch your stuff, but you also need it to be like quantity. You need enough of it, because quantity will push the quality up. It will make you better at what you're doing, because the more reps you do, the better you will get at doing those things. So it's just kind of, by the will of God, I am going to force this business to grow, and by the will of God, I'm going to just commit to doing it. 3rd week in a row streaming, which doesn't seem like, oh, that's amazing. But from a consistency perspective, like, this is how habits are built. This is how focus is built. This is how you start to keep promises to yourself, but then also start to create some, create expectations in others that you are actually upholding. So it's really cool. So yeah, the content strategy is literally lives, 3 YouTube videos a week. Going to try and get shorts out every day. Still continuing to write the book, the fat loss book. I want that finished next year. So I want that published, finished next year. I want all of the step-by-step section to be done by December, because once the step-by-step section's done, in January, we're going to try and run the biggest course we've ran, which would be really, really cool. And we'll keep you updated on all of that. Part of this is like kind of sharing the journey as we build it, which is really fun. And just from a marketing perspective, like, and content perspective, it's like the consistency's the king. You have to be consistent. You have to be. There's literally no choice within it. And people will just find you. People will just find you. Create the content, create it, and they will come. But let people know about you all the time, because you will be surprised. Like, I could go on my phone, even though we're all addicted to our phones, we probably go on it and we don't see half of the things that people have posted, because we probably see the first 10 posts in our feed, and then we're in a Reels hole for the rest of eternity. Or we're in a TikTok hole, or we're in a Shorts hole for the rest of eternity, or we're looking at people's stories. So it's kind of like you don't see a lot of the things that people post, in which case I just need to hammer it so people do see me, basically. And it needs to be valuable, so hopefully it'll be valuable, just like these streams are. But that's the plan from a content perspective, breaking lives into longs and then down into shorts. So on this next section, by the way, I know I'm early, but we've got a sparkling cinnamon candle, which is incredible. And this time of year, it literally, candles that smell like Christmas, not even just Christmas, because I know we're in October, but like that smell like I'm in a tavern from some fantasy novel is exactly where I want to be. I want to feel like I'm in Game of Thrones. So we're vibing with that. With also vibing, can you see that? It's an electric, like, lighter. Sorry, just little things that baffle my brain, but it's incredible. It's rechargeable. So the next section, Don't You Dare Go Hollow. This section we're going to talk about depression. So if you struggle with it, or you struggle with your mental health, I think the video is going to help you, for one, but also just be aware that we're going into a section which is going to probably be quite deep, and it's probably going to bring up some feelings within you. But I think it's a really, really good thing to talk about. It's something I openly and happily talk about, and I do think this video itself is going to be something which is really beneficial for you. I'm just going to double check that everything's going to work, and then we were going to get started. So, but I think it's a really, really good mint. Amazing. So let's do it. Right.
Back in high school, I had a friend named Rob. One of my closest friends, Rob was in a constant battle with depression throughout his years in high school. While I didn't have to personally deal with depression, I was with him through a large part of his struggle, and I myself had to deal with chronic stress and anxiety. Depression, stress, and anxiety are all things that we've all had to deal with in one way or another. Whether it be helping a friend or family member through their darkest times, or whether we had to fight our own battles over and over, we've all faced it. We can all relate to it. It's no secret that Lordran, the land that Hidetaka Miyazaki's grim epic Dark Souls takes place in, is nothing if not dreary, hostile, and oppressive. This is a land filled to the brim with monsters and the cursed undead, who wander aimlessly after having lost their way, their drive, given up, and turned hollow. It's easy to just sit back and take Lordran at face value, easy to look at the game's hardships as purely the result of design choices, and easy to look at it as nothing more than a game. And while it is certainly true, I can't help but see more than that. To me, Dark Souls is more than just a game. It's an allegory for depression and the hardships of those who face it on a daily basis. Rob once described his depression to me as fighting the same battle over and over again with less and less drive to do so. It's a constant cycle of facing the same enemy over and over again, only to lose some of yourself each time. In Dark Souls...
Yeah, so if any of you have experienced depression itself, or experienced long stretches of periods of low mood, or been around someone who's had it, I think it comes in different forms, but I think that sums it up perfectly. I think it affects your motivation more than it affects anything else, really. I think it's the worst bit about when you go through periods of low mood, a lot of the time is it can be environmental, but it can also be something that is just a way that you are. There's the whole argument of, is it Is it nature? Is it nurture? Are some people just designed that way? Has your childhood just contributed to how you feel and how you respond to things? Has there been experiences throughout your life which has made you just the type of person who is just more unhappy? I heard two things recently which I thought were really, really cool. One was, I'm not an angry person, I'm a sad person. So rather than directing my anger outwards, I direct it inwards and towards me. And I think that could basically be a massive or a really easy summary as to why some people don't like themselves. Because my depression probably isn't driven from thinking the world is hopeless. It comes from me thinking I'm hopeless, and that there is the world and everyone else can have an amazing life, but thinking that I can't. And mine happens because I am a sad person who gets angry at myself and can see all of my flaws and can see all of my problems and all of the reasons why I'm this and that. And that spiral can spiral me out of control to the point where I'm just beating myself up nonstop. From a depression standpoint, for a lot of people, if you're someone who is more sad than angry, you may just target that inwards. And if you're unaware as to why you may feel that way, is it environmental, or is it just the way that you're processing and thinking about emotions? Is it emotions coming up from your childhood that you haven't processed? Being able to identify what that is going to be really, really beneficial. So like for me, I've done 3 different bouts of therapy in my life over the past 10 years. I've read countless self-help books. I've done stupid amounts of self-work on it. I created a well-being workbook all around trying to combat anxiety and depression. Like, it's something that's just been in my life for ages. I've lost people to suicide. I've been around multiple people in school who ended up taking their own life. I've seen friends attempt it, or been around friends that have attempted it, and it is a rough thing to be. It's a rough thing that I think needs to be talked about in a way which is like, it's all right, but there is a way out of it, and this is the way out of it. There is a way to be okay with it, and a lot of it to me always just comes down to self-awareness and being able to just do the work to try and help yourself. Because if you're willing to help yourself, and in any way possible, because I think that should be the front, which is, as long as you are willing to do anything to not feel like this, and to not and to stay, and to not like take your own life, if you can find something that you can do to improve that, or you're willing to do that, that's all that matters, because eventually you'll find that thing, whatever that is for you. For me, it's massively driven by purpose and meaning. I need everything to mean something, but everything for me is can be seen as meaningless, and that's why I have to have something that I'm chasing. That's why I have to have goals. That's why I have to have a purpose. In Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, they talk about the prisoners of war who ended up making it through Auschwitz. And a massive part of it was because they all had some purpose, some meaning within their life, whether it was a loved one at home waiting for them, or a work project, or an art project that only they could possibly finish. And I think that's why I'm such a massive fan of finding your specific niche and the thing that you love and are passionate about. Not necessarily need to be a job, but something that only you do. Like, I've seen it with my friends. Like, I got a friend who for years and years was just not a nightmare, but I don't think he had much purpose and direction, found running. And as soon as he found running, it was like, okay, this guy's now he's now not as flaky. He's now not someone who is unreliable. He's now not someone who is just down in the dumps all the time. Life is rough, but I'm doing these cool things because this gives me drive, this gives me purpose, this gives me somewhere to go. And I think finding that for yourself, I think is the way forward. And just know that if you're battling with depression, it does feel like that. It feels like you are dealing with the same problems, dealing with the same monster over and over and over again, and having less and less motivation to actually be able to deal with it. So let's continue.
Rob once described his depression to me as fighting the same battle over and over again with less and less drive to do so. It's a constant cycle of facing the same enemy over and over again, only to lose some of yourself each time. In Dark Souls, specifically Lordran and the world around it, there lies something similar, though it manifests itself in a very different way. For an unknown reason, there was an epidemic among humans. An unknown but assumed large number of people were cursed, branded with something called the Dark Sign, and turned into the undead. Immortal, in a sense, these cursed undead are fated to roam the world for ages. Anytime one dies, they're brought back to life by the mysterious powers of the bonfires that are scattered around the world. As an undead loses their drive or their purpose or their goals, they begin to hollow. Much like many of those who face depression on a daily basis, they gradually lose themselves. To be hollow is, in essence, to have lost any real sight or recollection of who you are, and in a way, accepted your fate. A hollow is frequently found doing what it did in life. Soldiers will be soldiers, commoners will be commoners. For many, they simply sit around and stare at something, or they stay where they were when they lost themselves. Essentially just a shell of who they used to be. They have no purpose in what they do. They simply do it because it's the only thing they know, maybe even the only
That's why you need meaning in your life, because meaning gives you purpose.
thing they remember. The player character is one of the undead, though their fate is vastly different than that of the mindless hollows. They are chosen and will face hardships and trials beyond that of any other undead in this lifetime. As with depression, the chosen undead will fight the same enemies over and over again, and each time the player gets revived at a bonfire without success, they grow more and more hollow. There are two main ways that people handle depression, and two main ways that people defeat Dark Souls. Some choose to go it alone, either trusting in their own strength or simply not wanting to be a bother to others. The rest will decide to call on the help of friends or strangers, gaining strength by having those friends or strangers by their side. Those who opt for facing the challenges solo will undoubtedly have a harder time without the support of a couple of friends. Depression is unforgiving. It's constantly pushing you, constantly throwing you to the dogs, and it does not hold back. It's vicious, uncaring, and apathetic all in one. At times, with both it and Dark Souls, it feels as if it wants you to break, wants you to give up. At those hardest times, the chosen undead makes a choice. They either accept defeat and
I think this is the other thing of, like, for me, which
give
is
up, or
I
they
actually
use the
don't
challenge.
care what people's kind of purpose is or thing that they're into. Like, I'm a massive fan of people who are a massive fan of something, and I've played video games my whole life, right? Haven't actually turned my PlayStation on properly for probably like 6 months. Part of that reason is just like I've dedicated myself to work training as my main two things and socializing. And normally in the past, when I was stressed and I just needed some time by myself to just not really think about anything, because this is part of the problem I struggle with, is being able to sit down and do nothing is hard for me. Whereas if I chuck myself into a game and you're in some kind of fantasy world, it's the same when people read books, is you're kind of transported, or you're watching a film series you love, you're transported into that world rather than being in your world. And the world that you're in might be really stressful right now, which means that you need something to take you out of it. And these little breaks from reality, whatever that may be, is going to be the thing which gives you that just time to just recuperate, reset, not be mundane and ruminating over the same problems. And I was seeing there was like people going, oh, if you play video games, you're a waster, you're this and you're that. And there's a massive part of me which is understands where they're coming from, which is you don't have drive and purpose in your life. And look at all of the things you could be doing if you weren't spending hours doing this hobby that gives you nothing back, which is mindless and da-da-da-da-da-da. Part of that's a generational thing, but I think part of it just comes from a lack of misunderstanding, or a huge misunderstanding and a lack of understanding, which is that some people, their lives are so bad and they are going through so much stuff, they need something to break them out of it. They need something like this where they can just lose themselves in and have that break away from reality. And I think telling someone like that you're a waster or a loser for doing that, I mean, that's not helpful at all. I think going along this line of purpose is what you need. And then having times where you can do things like this. This shouldn't take up your whole life. If you've heard me on this channel before, I spoke about red flags and green flags for your well-being. Red flags being signs that your well-being's in a bad place because you start leaning on crutches and vices and doing things which are detrimental to you. And then green flags, which are you are doing things which are positive, and the more green flags you have is a good sign that your well-being is good, and how many red flags you have is a sign that your well-being is bad. And mine used to be, if I found myself wanting to play my PlayStation instead of working, there was a massive sign that my mental health was in a bad place, that my well-being was in a bad place, because I was just trying to distract myself and get myself out of my current situation. And I think that's why you want to be aware as to what you're doing and why you're doing it, and having a purpose and a drive to move you forward, but then having controlled periods of time where you get a break from it, I think is really important. So like, if you're someone who you hear this on the internet where people are like, don't do this or don't do that, I think any sweeping statement just needs to be ignored, because the context is completely different for every individual. So whenever you see a piece of advice, lay the context of your life over it and try to understand the context is which is being said. When someone's saying playing video games makes you a waster, that could be because they just did it when they were a waster. So they played video games because they had nothing else to do, and it's all they did because they were just like, they were a kid at the time when they did it. They may not be someone who, it's for them, it's their hobby, for them it's X, for them it's this. Because I'll have people who say to me, you train too much, you do this too much, you run too much or whatever, or they'll look down on my chosen job and my chosen hobby. And it's kind of like, that context that they are saying that is from their point of view, and it can just be ignored if it does not apply to the context of your life. And like a subsection underneath that I always think about is, think about the intent, or think about the way that someone's giving you that advice. So some people may be giving you the advice, and whatever they're saying is whatever they're saying, whatever they've done is whatever they've done. What is the underlying meaning that they are saying? What's the intent with what they're saying? So like, if someone does something to me, my thing is always, but why did they do that? Not like, why do they hate me? Why have they done this thing? It's kind of like, there has to be a reason underneath. There's got to be this intent. There's got to be this kind of, some values underneath it that we're not seeing because we're only hyper fixated on the situation. So it's like, what's driven them to say or do that thing? And if as soon as you can start to like put this context around it and this nice wrapper, you then get to be like, well, the thing that's annoyed me that they've done doesn't actually annoy me anymore, because I now understand why they may have done it or why they've said it. It's like when your parents say something to you and you're like, why have you just said that? And it's like, their intent is probably good. So like, let's just say that they've said it the wrong way or not in the way that you needed it, because ignorance, like, always don't attribute something to malice that can be attributed to ignorance every single time. Ignorance in the sense of they just don't know.
Is fuel for their fires. With both, is unforgiving. It's constantly pushing you, constantly throwing you to the dogs, and it does not hold back. It's vicious, uncaring, and apathetic all in one. At times, with both it and Dark Souls, it feels as if it wants you to break, wants you to give up. At those hardest times, the chosen undead makes a choice. They either accept defeat and give up, or they use the challenge as fuel for their fires. With both, despite how difficult things get, each battle can be won and each step forward can be made. Now, none of that is to say that Dark Souls is entirely relentless. If it were, nobody would play it. Instead, Dark Souls achieves a very precarious balance. For all the times it beats you up, it has something to encourage you. Usually it's the adrenaline from finally beating that boss or getting past those few enemies, but occasionally it's in the shape of non-player characters that always seem to have some words of encouragement. In this way, it differs immensely from depression. Dark Souls flex the world with characters for you to meet, each with their own backstory and reason for being in Lordran. These characters and their stories are an almost constant presence throughout the game. The majority of them simply mind their own business and go about whatever it is they're doing, but a few of them actually encourage the player to press forward, serving as small bits of light in the dreary world of Lordran. In this way, Dark Souls provides the player with a support system akin to having a friend there to cheer you on. While you're not constantly around these characters, you see them every now and then, and 3 of them in particular are remarkably happy or cheerful, all things considered. As I've said before, not everyone has or chooses to have support in their fight against depression, but these characters all serve to be the same kind of support one would get from friends at your side. One character, Laurentius, genuinely cares for the chosen undead. After you save Laurentius from being trapped in the sewers, you find him at a shrine. He's always happy to see you, and he says something that's really stuck with me.
Goodbye then. Be safe, friend. Don't you dare go alone.
This may be the best line in Dark Souls, and it makes it clear that your fight, whether against the beasts of Lordran or against the beasts of depression, is not a fight that you need to have alone, and there's always some place or someone who truly wishes the best for you. I hadn't realized how truly important that line was until recently, when I was sitting down.
I think friends specifically, and just surrounding yourself with people, is going to be the best thing that you can do if you struggle with depression. Hence why we're doing this. I know I keep going on about it, but the whole point of this stream is because I know how rough Sundays can be, and I know how rough weekends can be for people who struggle with depression and struggle with mental health. And the reason we are doing these streams is because I want to give people a place to come. Even if they don't interact, it's just like listening and being able to feel like they're connected with someone. And that someone cares. Like every time I hear that someone's taken their own life, or someone's really struggling, or someone's not said anything, like it gets me. And it's like, if I can do something, I'm going to. And that's why we're doing this, because friends, a lot of people don't have anyone around them. They don't. Like, it's, I'm very lucky. I'm surrounded by people at all times. But for some people who struggle to create social connections, because it's not something that's easy. Like, I spent my childhood either at the rugby club surrounded by 30 to 50 people every time I was there, all of all different ages and backgrounds, or I was with my mum, who was a mobile hairdresser, going into different families' houses. Like, I had no choice but to learn how to socialize. So because I've learnt that through the years, it's now very easy for me to do. Like, it's very easy for me to socialize with people. So for some it isn't, which means that creating social connections and creating a relationship with someone who you can ask for help and who will actually be there is quite difficult. Like, I mean, this year, or the past 18 months, there's probably been like, I don't know, maybe like 10, 12 of my mates all became single in the past 18 months, including myself. And it's like, I had a mate text me the other day about it, like, who's a recent member of our singles club. And it's like, right, I'm here for you straight away. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's have a phone call if you want it. Always here for FaceTime in. Drop me a message whenever you need me. Like, checking in with him weekly. You having that support system is really important, and finding friends is really, really important. And I love the line, "Don't you dare go hollow." I absolutely love it.
I hadn't realized how truly important that line was until recently, when I was sitting down and playing through Dark Souls to reminisce. It brought me back to Rob and how it helped him deal with his depression, and honestly how Dark Souls had helped me learn how to handle my own problems with stress and anxiety. When I met Rob, he was in what could best be described as a rough patch. On top of having to deal with a recent and major loss in his life, he also had to struggle to keep up in school while maintaining a job, and the combined stress and pressure was putting him in a very dark cycle. He was fighting his...
This is one of the this is why I always say about environmental and, like, is it just your situation? So, like, for me, for example, like right now, if I'm struggling with my mental health, I know it's very much environmental, or like it's very circumstantial. The things I'm going through are the reason I feel the way I feel. I don't just feel this way. This isn't just me forever. And I think knowing that can be really helpful. It's like, do you have depression, or is your life just really, really hard? Like, is your life set up in a way which means it's difficult and there's no joy and there's no fun and there's no like outlets, and you're stressed all the time and you're under pressure all the time, and to some degree, like, depression can be seen as a bit of like a safety mechanism from your body to some degree, which is kind of you're unable to kind of engage, you're unable to like deal with the world because you've got so much going on in your own head, or there's so much like pain that you're feeling in your body. Like, I'm reading The Body Keeps the Score at the moment, an unbelievable book, talks all about trauma, and and for that they're saying you hold it in your body. It talks all about attachment theories and things like that. And it's like, if you have all of this stuff built up within you and you don't really know, or you've got all of this stuff that's built up within you, and it's like, it's over time, it's accumulated to the point where you're like, I've now got depression, I've now been diagnosed with depression. Like, when it gets to that point, it's probably not just because you're depressed, it's probably because you've had one massive thing, three massive things, 100 tiny things which have all led to this point where it's like, okay, well, let's see if we can deal with these things one by one. Like, if I look at the causality and the circumstances which cause me to feel the way I'm feeling right now, what can I actually do about those circumstances? Do I just need to come to terms with one of them? And it's like, okay, how do I come to terms with that? What are the steps that someone would take to come to terms with that? If I was giving advice to a friend, what would they do? If I was already out of this situation and feeling better, what would I be doing to feel better? You've almost got to become the person who feels better and is doing all of the right things before you actually get there. It's that fake it till you make it type thing, because for a massive period of it, you're going to have to fake it till you make it, because you're going to feel dreadful and you're going to feel like you're just being dragged down all the time. And it's kind of, this is the only way that I've seen you can move forward, is to go like, okay, I'm going to deal with each of these circumstantial bits one by one and be like, what is bothering me the most? What is bothering me the most? What is bothering me the most? What can I do anything about these situations? I think of it like a snowball effect. So like, when you are in debt, and say you've got 5 or 6 different debts, okay? You say you've got a credit card, you've got a car payment, you've got, I don't know, say you owe someone some money, say you're like paying off your overdraft, for example. The debt snowball is you pay an equal amount off of each of the debts. And then when the smallest one goes, so once you've paid off the smallest one, the money that you were putting on the smallest one now goes on the next smallest one. And then the others are still normal. So then eventually what happens is you start paying off bigger and bigger chunks and you get out of debt quicker. And I think it's the same with this. It's kind of going, well, if I've got all of these different problems in my life that are causing me to feel this certain way, circumstantial, and by circumstantial, I genuinely do mean that it could be because of the dreadful childhood you had. It could be that, like, mine wasn't bad, but like, just saying, it could be the dreadful childhood that you had, and it could be the bad relationships you've been in, and it could be the way that you've experienced love throughout your life. There could be deaths and grief that you're dealing with. There could be these big things that have happened over a 20-year span. It happened since you were a kid. But if you can start to identify what those are and start to deal with them, you might actually end up in a better place. So like, if you think about it, like, you've got, say you've had a bereavement, you've lost someone, say you're struggling in work, say you don't like the way you look because you feel fat and you feel all gross, and you're like, no one's going to love me because of the way I feel. And then say you're like, say the environment that you're living in is a problem. Say like you're in a shared accommodation with people you don't like, right? If you looked at all of those problems and then you listed them, what's the biggest one you're struggling with and what's the least biggest one you're struggling with? If you start at the one that's not bothering you as much, but is a big thing, and you still do it, you're still doing the work on the others, you can start to tick off things quicker. So then you've just got one problem to deal with. You've just got you're dealing with the grief from the bereavement rather than dealing with the grief from the bereavement, the fact that you feel you're unfit and unhealthy, the fact that you're struggling in work, the fact that the fact that you're working with, or you're living with people you don't want to be living with, or the area's shit. Like, deal with those smaller problems, and then eventually you have more brain power and more focus to be able to deal with the others. Life sometimes, it's not that you're depressed, it's just that your life is just bad. Like, there's just a lot of things that could be improved, and by identifying them, again, that self-awareness point, you'll be able to actually find a way through it.
How important that line was until recently, when I was sitting down and playing through Dark Souls to reminisce. It brought me back to Rob and how it helped him deal with his depression, and honestly how Dark Souls had helped me learn how to handle my own problems with stress and anxiety. When I met Rob, he was in what could best be described as a rough patch. On top of having to deal with a recent and major loss in his life, he also had to struggle to keep up in school while maintaining a job, and the combined stress and pressure was putting him in a very dark cycle. He was fighting his own battle over and over, and he was doing all that he could to keep himself afloat, to keep his light in sight. I forget exactly how or why, but Rob started playing Dark Souls. At the time, all I knew about it was that it was supposed to be insanely difficult and that it just didn't pique my interest. But Rob loved it. For the next few months, it was almost all he'd talk about. He spent hours, days on that game, and eventually he got me to try it. It was around that time that the semester ended and he moved away. After a couple of years, he came back to visit some family he still had in the area, and we met up. Immediately, I noticed something different about him. Rob was happy. We ended up talking about his battle with depression. He told me that he would still have terrible down days, but Rob assured me that not all of his days were bad. After moving away, Rob went through some very intense times and was in a darker place than before he left. He knew no one in this new town, and he'd left all of his friends behind. One of the ways he fought depression was by distracting himself, and Dark Souls was his favorite distraction. It offered a challenge, and it became a constant source of drive for Rob. It gave him a goal to pursue. He told me that he hadn't been able to find the right words to describe his depression, but had recently decided on a select few that really did the job. Rob told me that his depression was like fighting the same battle over and over again with less drive to do so. He told me that even though he was fighting the same battles every single day, he hadn't given up and he had no intention of going hollow. For myself, Dark Souls had ended up serving a similar purpose. Though I wasn't suffering from depression, it helped me.
I think, and that's kind of my point earlier, you've got to find something that gives you that break away from it. For me, like, for the longest time, it's training. Like, obviously, playing some kind of games does that. But, like, work does the same thing. It's purpose. And I think that's the thing that people who don't struggle or haven't struggled with depression may not understand. Depression, to some degree, is a lack of meaning and a lack of purpose, which contributes to a lack of drive in life, which means that you're down a lot of the time. And people are like, well, you've always got to be doing something. You're always chasing a goal. You've always got something lined up. And it's like, yeah, because without that, I really struggle. And that doesn't mean that the way I do things is right, but it's right for me, and it's right for me and the way that I'm struggling. Because, like, the way that I think about this, and again, it may just me default into what feels most comfortable to me, is I would rather be here and still be alive, working the way I work, and training the way I train, and pursuing life the way I pursue life, than living it by someone else's rules and being unhappy and then not wanting to be here. Like, you're way better off finding whatever it is that keeps you here than you are not being here. And I don't care what that is, because distraction to some degree by playing a video game may give you that time and that break to not think about what you're going through. But again, like they're saying about Rob, for example, it gave him a focus and purpose and gave him something to do. Right, I'm going to go and fight this monster. I'm going to go and try and get this level up. I'm going to try and do this. A bit like when you build a business, if you think about it like leveling up, you're trying to improve and trying to improve your product and get better and do all these things and learn the skills you need to learn, and like kind of get up the levels, rank yourself up just like you are in video games. And I think, and it's a similar thing with training, is all of it's the same. You're progressing towards a bigger goal. There's a goal that at the end you want to achieve something, you want to do something, and you're working towards that. I think it's amazing to have those goals, because in the meantime, you get to figure out what is your true purpose and true drive. And that's the thing which probably maybe people overlook. What is, yes, do these things to keep you going, to keep you alive, to keep you here. What's your bigger purpose and bigger drive? What's the thing that actually could keep you here from a longer term perspective? What's the thing that you are most passionate about? What's the thing that you are most driven to do? And the thing that gives you most joy within life, the thing which fills your cup the most, the thing that will keep you here for the longest period of time. And like, I know what mine will be. I know what mine is, even though I don't have it right now. Like, for me, it's like, I want a family. Like, I've always wanted one. I want a loving wife who is my teammate, and we are an epic team, and we just smash through life together. That's what I want. And then to have a family to provide for, to then experience life with, is the thing that I want. Like, that is it. And I know that when I have that, and when that is the big thing, the purpose and drive is through the roof, because it's like, now I'm not just doing it for me, I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it for us. And I think that's something that I've found, is that my purpose and drive comes from doing things for others. I get a lot out of being selfless in a selfish way, which is, if I can help other people and I can do things for others, and I do things for others which may mean the world for them but not really cost a lot of energy for me, I will do that all the time. That's the thing that gives me joy, gives me focus and energy, and I love it. And I think maybe trying to identify what you could do for others could be a way of finding your bigger purpose.
For myself, Dark Souls had ended up serving a similar purpose. Though I wasn't suffering from depression, it helped me learn how to handle my anxiety, stress, and anger. I approach things very differently now, and though I still have trouble anytime I'm in a rough spot, I can always go back to Dark Souls and it will always help. To this day, I'm thankful that I ended up playing it. To this day, it holds a special place in my life. Dark Souls is easy to take at face value as nothing more than a game that's hard for the sake of being hard. For some, it's so much more. For people like Rob and myself, it's more help than anyone else was up for offering, and it ended up being more than enough. Those of you watching this that suffer from depression, I want you to know that there's always some kind of hope in that you don't have to do this alone. There are people you can talk to who can help, and they're probably closer than you think. I hope that all of you find your goal, a purpose, or the support you need to overcome that next challenge, or to just take those next steps forward. Good luck to you all, my friends. Don't you dare go hollow.
And that was that. I think Don't You Dare Go Hollow is the quote of this stream, and probably the quote of my life. Find something, find something, find something, and just keep chasing that thing, whatever it is. So, don't you dare go hollow. Right. My thought process. Let's find something a little bit less dark. Let's cheer ourselves up a little bit. Let me mute this so it doesn't come through, because what I want to try and find. Let me mute this. Wait there. What I want to try and find is, I basically save Instagram reels. And because I want to, there's some funny ones. Let me just make sure that there's no like music on them, because if there's music that comes through on here, then I'm like, YouTube will take it down. So, if I go profile, where's my saved stuff? There it is. Let me just make sure. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at some funny stuff. Right, we're doing this one. Let me just make sure there's no. Yeah, right. This is bad. I'm sorry about this. I am sorry about this. Right. So, I am really sorry about this. Let me put you there. Ready? So, this was used to be from a TV show back in, I don't even know when it was, but like, this is a compilation. Actually, I tell you what, we're going to find the YouTube version of it, because it's even worse. Wait there, let's find it. Fat Families intro. This is, look, I'm laughing because it's funny.
I'm in Telford, Shropshire, and I'm about to meet one of the fattest families I've met in my life. I'm here in the Peak District and about to meet two right massive fattest siblings who are at the peak of their porkiness.
It's just how it rolls off the tongue. It's like, it's the different puns that he uses and sayings. I can't help it. It's the absurdity of it, which is what I'm laughing at, just so it doesn't get taken out of context.
I'm going to be meeting some right beach blubber bellies. I'm in Luton, Bedfordshire, and about to meet three right jelly-bellied jumbos. I'm in London town, the nation's capital, home to Big Ben, Houses of Parliament, the London Eye, and four gigantic girls. These girls have got back...
Stop it. It's just like, I want to know the script. I want to know who's sat there in a meeting high, because they would 100% have been drinking whiskey while they were getting this ready. Like, I don't know if this was, what's this got to be? An ITV show, or it's got Channel 4, E4 written all over it.
Stage passes to Porkyville. These fatties haven't seen their feet for years. I'm about to meet a family of Essex fatties. I'm about to meet a right pair of podgy parents. I used to be a fatty myself, but Mr. and Mrs. Massive Fatty. About to meet a colossal couple. That's if they can get off their backsides long enough to answer the door. These parents' kids are on a one-way road to Fatsville. No wonder he's such a massive fatty. I'm about to meet a right portly pair. And about to meet two right bouncing brummies.
Could you just imagine two bouncing brummies? Could you imagine this was out?
I'm about to meet a right pair of wobblers whose weight's completely out of control. Watch out, massive fatties, the lard police are in town. Too much time sat on their fat bums, that's their problem. That woman is so fat she can't even walk around the shop. She's actually trapped in a body of lard. If they don't pull out their chubby fingers, they'll be on the way to an early grave. I've told these lazy lardies what I think. It's time for these...
So, like, genuinely, I've watched one episode of this. I've not even watched the whole thing. Like, even though these intros aren't empathetic, when he actually goes in, sometimes he is quite empathetic, and potentially there is some tough love going on. There is another program which is like My £600 Life. My boss watches it, and we've watched half an episode before. And there is something with depression. The body keeps a scorebook, right? So I'm reading that, and they talk about if you see obesity as the problem, you're getting it wrong from the start, because obesity is the solution, because they basically, just like I use work to make me feel better, or people play video games to make them feel better, or people go out and drinking. For a lot of people who are obese, it's driven emotionally, like it's disordered eating. If you look at if you think of like anorexia, for example, and everyone knows that someone's got an eating disorder, and when they've got anorexia, it's way clearer to see, and for us it seems to be a clearer representation of, oh, there's something mentally not right there, right? That's driven the anorexia. When we see fat people, we don't think that though. We just think, oh, lazy, or this, or slob, or whatever it is, right? Whatever intro he uses. but it's actually driven a lot of the time from emotions, and it's like this is their way of coping. Like and that's why for me, again, is because if you deal with obesity as, if you look at obesity as the problem, then you're never going to uncover what the problems actually are. So disordered eating, what are the things which driving it? A lot of it, yes, you could be like it's habits, or people don't know how to cook, or it's laziness. But for a large majority of people who are obese and overweight, they don't want to be. Like, it's not something that's enjoyable for them. Life's harder. But there's a massive part around, like, yes, we can educate these people, hence the book, hence the course, hence the videos. But then it just comes down to, okay, well, are you someone who is disordered eating and it's emotionally driven? And if it's emotionally driven, what can we do about it? Is there something that can be done? And I think there is a massive part of like sitting people down and being like, what can we do about this? Let's give some tough love. Let's try and find a way to make things like better for you. And I do just think that like trying to find that drive and the reason to do something is going to be really important. Like trying to be like, do you want to spend time with your grandkids? Like, do you want to live long enough to do this? Like, I've had a client recently who was basically like pre-diabetic. So basically, if she came back in and she hadn't lost any weight, there is a massive chance that she was going to be diabetic. A big thing which can help with kind of combating diabetes and obesity to some degree is going to be trying to build some muscle, because your muscle, like building muscle, where your muscles, a lot of what's in them is glycogen. And if we can build some more muscle on people, you basically become a bit more of a sponge for glycogen. So it's kind of like the carbs that you eat actually go somewhere and they're not just kind of floating around in your bloodstream. So this is why when you're combating obesity and you're combating like someone who may be pre-diabetic, yes, we need you to lose weight, but we do that through nutrition and through movement. And then we want you to still try and build some muscle, because muscle is going to combat everything. If we can be stronger, if we can be stronger and we're going to have more muscle, we're actually going to be in a better place. I think Gabrielle Lyon did a thing about this. We'll find that at some point. But like, it's like muscle is going to be a big combat for like all-cause mortality. We're not going to watch any more of the intros of that, but that's the little fun section to kind of take us away from Don't You Dare Go Hollow. And I think we're gonna like get close to kind of wrapping it up. Yeah, we're gonna like little mental health section. So our little mental health section for today. This is just gonna be a bit of a kind of ending, I suppose. I'm gonna put on a little bit of background music, a little bit of something, just to keep us moving in the right way. Let's go royalty-free music. I don't know what's gonna come out, so. Should make sure it's quiet enough. I don't want to be loud when I talk. So, the mental health section for today. We're going to go over knowing when basically... How can we start this section? So, knowing when to be kind to yourself and when you need to push. Knowing when to be kind to yourself and knowing when to work harder is a skill that needs to be developed. Because if you're like me, you have two sides of you. One side is someone who can work really hard at something, push themselves and really drive hard at something. And another part of you is someone who maybe feels like you're either over emotional, or you kind of feel lazy, or you feel unproductive, or you feel like a bit soft. Like sometimes I feel a bit soft, you know. I'm like, if I feel like I'm having a bad day with my mental health, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling soft. Like other people can have the exact same thing happen and not feel like this. So I kind of beat myself up about it a little bit. I mean, that's also a skill to learn to not do that. But knowing when to basically be prime Goggins and when to be like kind to yourself, I think I use the scale of 1 to 10, like how am I feeling out of 1 to 10, as a bit of my guide for that. So if I look at this week just gone, one of the things that I've been doing is looking at my week and going, I basically had obviously the dreadful day Tuesday, really emotional, didn't sleep Wednesday, didn't sleep Wednesday night. So Thursday, I was like, I could go in I didn't get to sleep till like 3, half 3. I could wake up at 5 and go and train and have an hour and a half sleep. And then I could do my full working day, be in the gym till 7 p.m. and then come home. Or I could be kind to myself that day, try and move my clients to the next day, do the little bit of work I need to do, not train, and give myself a bit of a break. On Saturday, I could have decided to watch the rugby and go home and do more work and lock into my goals. Or I could be like, I've had a bad week. Right now, that's not what's going to be best for me. And I always default to the same question, which is, what is the thing which is going to help me the most? And to some degree, there is the knock-on effects of going out on a weekend. And like, we kind of, have we spoken about that yet? We haven't really spoken about the drinking side of it yet. Where have I put that to? Well, we're going to kind of talk about it anyway, so we'll weave it in somewhere. Let me just put a note down, because we haven't spoken about that. But knowing what to do and just asking yourself the question, what's going to be the best thing for me to do? Because obviously there's a knock-on effect that you get with every decision you make, because rather than like you're choosing what's going to be best for you, basically. And for me, it's using the scale of 1 to 10, which is normally like, if I'm a 5 or below, your boy's had a bad time. Like, for me, like, this week's been a 5 and it's been a pretty rough week, you know? So it's like 5 or below, I probably need to give myself a bit more leeway and be kinder to myself. If I take that, like, Wednesday, for example, and, like, coming into Thursday, I was probably at a 2. Like, I was in a real bad, well, probably like a 3. I was in a real bad place. And that just meant on the Thursday, I was like, I'm just going to be kind to myself today. I'm going to be kind to myself. But then kind of going then into the next week and being like, right, let's kind of reapply that mode. Let's flick that switch again. Let's get things done. It's going to be really important. And I think knowing what to do and when to do that's going to be really good. On a similar note, and a kind of same section, different section, I suppose. Gang, if you've gone through a breakup, you have to just go no contact. You have to go no contact. There's no if, buts, or maybes about it. Like, if you're at a place where you've fully broken up with your ex, and you can go no contact, but you're choosing not to, or you haven't deleted them off of all of your social media, you haven't deleted and blocked their number because you're kind of hoping that it might still work. And if you're hearing that and go, no, I'm not hoping, but I'm doing it for this reason, I'm doing it for that reason. Yes, same, mate. I was doing it because, like, oh, they might need me. Come on. Like, we all know what we're doing here. You gotta go no contact. Just get them gone. I literally was like, I was feeling amazing. And then I had to go over the house, sort some stuff out with the house, get some of my things back. And I was like, I'm strong. Like, normally it would be like I go in with a friend or go with my mum, or I go on my own when no one's there. But I was like, no, I'm gonna go meet my ex and we're gonna talk about it and whatever. And I was like, I'm strong, I feel great. Everyone was like, you okay about it? I was like, yeah, I feel sound. Your boy was not sound. Your boy was up till 3 a.m, not being asleep. And it's basically like a relapse. I was chatting to my mate about it, and I was like, it's like a drug. It's like I kind of wean myself off of it, and then I take a hit, and then I'm ruined again. And it's kind of like, and I literally relapse back to the start where I'm just like, I hate myself, and I beat myself up, and I fall back into that pit of despair. So it's like, you just can't see them. You just can't. Like, you can't until enough time's passed, and even then you'll probably see them, and it'll still bring up some feelings. But there are so many people in the world, the chances of you seeing them are actually reasonably small. Like, unless you go to the same places, you work in the same place, or you go to the same gym, or you have the exact same friendship group. And even then, you need to put stuff in place to mean that you don't see them. Like, you shouldn't have friends on there. You should not have their friends on you. Gone. Blocked or deleted their number on everything. Every different type of social media. You shouldn't even have them on your bank account. Like, get rid of their details. You don't need them anymore. You're not sending them no money for no gifts no more. Get them gone. But you've got to go no contact. And you've got to. Jesus. There's the one thing that's helped me is to be like, nada. No more. No. And my mate called me up because he was like, how did it go? And I was like, yeah, it was good. Like, it was all right. He called me up before and was like, how you feeling? I was like, yeah, all right. And I explained I was going to see her. He was like, that's not a good idea. I was like, nah, I'm sound. I went so he called me up and I was like, mate, I am in a hole. And he was like, you can't. He was like, do I even have to say it? I was like, nah. He's like, you can't do it. And I was like, I know. I was like, I won't again, I promise. And he was like, you got to help yourself. And you got to help yourself. And I think that's the bigger thing, is you got to help yourself to some degree in these things. So if you are someone who's just gone through a breakup and you haven't blocked and removed them and deleted them on everything, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm still going through the sale of a house, so I have to communicate, but I communicate through email. It's way less emotive. Everything's done through email. Everything's blunt. Everything's just like talking about the one thing, which is the house. None of it's emotionally driven. But all the emotional driven stuff is calls, it's texts, it's seeing them in person. So we just don't do that anymore. Like, pinky promise? Can we make an agreement? Can we make a pact? Let's make a pact. No more. Stop. Removed, blocked, deleted, of everything. And if you're debating it, remind yourself of all the reasons it didn't work. So one of the things that I've learnt about breakups as such is, if it didn't work and there are reasons and there were problems which made the breakup happen, you have to remind yourself of those reasons more often than you do all of the good stuff. The good stuff's going to come back up. You're going to remember, you're going to see certain things and miss them for certain things. Like, I can watch films for ages because of it. So it's like you're going to think about them and you're going to like have memories, and songs are going to be emotive to you. But you have to remind yourself of reasons it didn't work, and you have to start to understand those things quite apparently. Like, I had a big one this morning or last night, which I was like, I remembered the feeling of what it felt like, and I went through the experience of like what kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back for me and the breakup, and like what kind of spiraled it all into out of control. And that was the way I was made to feel when I was going through one of the toughest things I'd ever gone through. And in that exact moment when I was like, I need my partner right now, and they are far from there for me. When I think of that, and I remember that feeling, remember that moment, you gotta say to yourself, remind yourself, my wife wouldn't do that. And then you gotta leave. And you got to just and you got to remind yourself of that, because there are some things which are non-negotiables. There are some things which are someone's nature coming out. There are certain things which are just who someone is, and that's okay. That's not a problem or anything against that person. It's just you understanding that they're not right for you because of those things. So you have to remind yourself of that. Remind yourself how you felt in the moment when it was so bad, you know. Remind yourself of that constantly, and that's what I've been doing recently, is being like, if I like this week specifically, because I had to go back to the house on Wednesday, I had to see her, I've had to remind myself all again, remember what happened. My mate was the one who said it to me. He was like, Hacker, you're acting as if like kind of you didn't choose this. I was like, no, I know, because you're talking about all this like not good enough shit again. And I was like, yeah, I know, like, and kind of was like working it out in my head. And he was like, you left for a reason. I was like, yeah. But you forget that, and you got to remind yourself, and you got to remember the feeling, and you got to remember that that feeling for me genuinely was one of the worst feelings I've ever had in my life, because it literally threw me into turmoil for probably like 4 to 5 months. I was not myself at all. Even though I was pretending to be myself, I literally can't really remember that part of my life. Like, I can remember bits of it, but like it was so traumatic for me, that whole thing that happened, that like I have to remind myself of that feeling and be like, I don't ever want to feel like that again. And it's going to help me make better decisions in the future for like a partner. Like my criteria is very small. Like, I want to like your face, and I want you to treat me nice. Like, that's it. I just want to like you as a person, and I want you to smile at me and be nice to me, and have nice eyes, a really nice smile. Like, that's it. And then just treat me nicely. Like, be there for me. It's not that hard. It's a very small criteria, man, but it's difficult to find. So we're on that hunt. But you've got to go no contact, and you got to remind yourself why it didn't work. If you've gone for a breakup, you just cut it. The little alcohol bit that I wanted to do. Fuck, this is, again, see, just waffling on, and this takes way longer than I thought it was going to take. So, let me just... We'll do the alcohol bit, because I want to try and basically help you to make a decision whether drinking is for you or not, basically. I hope you try and, like, know if you're dabbling or... So, like this next section... If you're wondering whether you should give up alcohol or not, these are the questions I ask myself. So I went sober before for like 3 or 4 months. I don't really have a problem with drinking. I don't have like an addiction with it. It doesn't really cause me too many problems in my life, but it can do. And it doesn't cause major ones, or it hasn't yet, but it does cause enough of a problem for me to notice an effect on my mood, for it to affect my productivity, for it to affect how I feel throughout the week. So, the questions that I always ask myself is, same thing as earlier, is like, what is the thing that's going to help me the most? That's the biggest question. And then just going through, like, what's my drive to do it? And, like, is me going, like, me being like, right, I'm not going to drink, like, is that going to be a good thing for me? And the chances are it's going to be. And then I'm always like, well, why am I scared to say I'm not going to drink? And I think it's because, like, I'm in a period of my life right now where distractions from how I'm feeling a lot of the time can be quite beneficial. And this is where you've got to be careful with addictions, is because if you find something which distracts you from what you're feeling and what you're going through, you may then look to that all the time to help distract you from, like, your life, and then that may just be more of a regular occurrence. I'm doing that thing more again. I'm reaching for the cigarettes again. I'm reaching for the cigarettes more and more. I'm having my vape more and more and more. I'm going out and drinking more and more and more. I find myself just staying in and playing my PlayStation more and more and more. If you're doing these things which are, like, just distracting you from your life, and it's becoming a lot of your time doing that, like, there's a massive sign that that's become more than just something you're doing. That's signs that it may have become an addiction to some degree. So for me, like, when it comes to drinking, I just think about the things I need to get done. So I went out the weekend, and I've got this weekend event coming up for, like, a friend's birthday on Friday, and I'm going, right, after that, probably till Christmas, I'm probably going to go sober. And I haven't, like, fully committed on that. The reason is because I'm like, I've got a fitness competition that I really want to focus on, and that's like maybe 8 weeks away now. So it's like a really good period of training is going to help me with that. So I need to be okay enough to train. So that's going to be a big thing for me. Right, get that sorted, plan that, get that all kind of lined up, squared away. Cool. And then, because that's gonna be the plan, do that. So that's like a massive thing for me, which is gonna, like, be a reason. For me, it's always the question of, what do I want to achieve? How much is alcohol stopping me? Not only is it going to affect how you feel, like, the next day, it's going to affect your diet, because not only is the drink going to be, like, have calories within it, so you're going to just drink all of these empty calories. It's going to make you hungrier the next day, so you're going to want to eat more food. You're going to have poor sleep, you're going to be dehydrated, so it means that, like, you're going to feel worse and worse because of those things as well. The food that you do eat, either on the night out or the next day, is probably going to be unhealthy, so not going to be helping towards your goals. Because of the lack of sleep, you're going to, like, struggle to train. Because of the lack of sleep and the alcohol in your system, you're going to struggle to want to be motivated throughout the week. So all of these things, for me, when I have to get up at 5 a.m. every day, or like Monday through to Friday, when I train 8 sessions in 6 days, or now 7 days, because we're slightly changing my training, do I really want to be dealing with a hangover and doing all those things? Like, no, I can't. I ain't got that in me. And that's what I'm thinking for like this event coming up, is like, go do this event, have a really fun time, but like that can be the end point, and I can do that quite easily. And just be like, right, from then to then, it might be a good time for me to stop training, because I get to improve my business and I get to improve my training a lot more, and I can go out and have 0% beers, or I can have soda lime, and I can be a bit more healthy. Like this weekend coming, there's a massive part of me which is like, I might just not drink beers. Like, because I went out last night and I was like, oh, I feel gross today. And it's funny, like, my rugby mates used to take the mick out of me because they were like, I could go out on the weekend and have a drink, and then the next day I'll tell you about why drinking's bad for you. And I never did that until today. Like, previously I'd make videos about it, but it wasn't because I went out on the weekend. But this one, I was like, it's on the topic of my mind, so I'm going to talk about it because it's something I'm debating currently. So yeah, like, the questions you need to ask yourself is, what are you trying to do at the moment? Like, what are you trying to achieve? And is going out and drinking going to help you achieve that goal? If you're in a period of life where socializing is really important to you, having fun with your friends, could you just stop drinking? Like, could you genuinely just take some time off of it? Like, if you're struggling with your mental health, alcohol is going to affect you in a bad way. So, like, know that, because when you're drinking, your emotions are going to be heightened, and the next day you're just going to feel gross, unproductive, and that's going to mess with you as well. So, like, we stop that. Like, these are all these little things that I think about. It's just like, if you're wanting to make a change in your life, and maybe stop drinking is a big thing for you. Like, I've had a client who, for the longest time, she couldn't lose weight, and it's because of her alcohol that she was drinking. And she was going through a period of time where, like, she was really struggling with her partner, or not really struggling with her partner, but she was going through a tough time personally. And because of that, like, she would go out with her friends and they'd have a drink, and it was like her time to relax and to blow off steam, right? So for me as a coach, I'm not going to be like, right, the thing which is giving you pure joy and a break from your life. Again, going back to the videos we spoke about earlier in this stream, like, I'm not going to tell you to not do that thing, because there's other benefits you're getting from it, right? But in her own time, she decided to stop drinking, and now she's almost close to like 300 days, or she's like 250 days sober, right? And doesn't even, like, she has times where she's like, oh, I could right now, but she doesn't and hasn't, because she feels better for it, and the effects that it's going to have on you. The way that she almost, part of the way she convinced herself, and this is why I think, like, I think of this, and this works in both senses of the word, and works towards how to motivate yourself in general, which is you need something to move towards and something to move away from. So she basically, so you write down all of the reasons why a change would be positive for you, and all, like, thousands of reasons. It will, I'll smell better because I'm not, my insides are not ruined from the alcohol. Like, I won't be just smelling like alcohol for days later, like, and sweating out the next day. Like, all of these reasons, it was simply down to that, all the way up to I'm going to live longer because of it. And then you list out all of the negative effects of keeping that, of not changing, because that is the thing to run from. That's the thing to run towards. So that's how motivation is created, and that's how we chase down a goal. Write down all of the things that you can do that's going to move you towards that positive goal, and then write down all of the reasons why staying the same is a bad idea. Just do that. And that's how you can learn to make a change. So if you're thinking of it, do that task, and you may start to see why it might be beneficial for you. For some people, their life is geared up in a way which drinking is their life, and that ain't a problem. That's who they are, and that's sound. Like, but for a lot of us, it's not really like a massive part of our life, right? So if it's not, then it can come out if we desire it to, and if we think we're going to get benefits from it. But that's the alcohol section. The goals for this week. So we do a check-in at the start, and then we do goal settings for the next week. So at the start, you figure out what you felt like, how it felt like out of 10 this week, what it's been like, and then we're going to go into, at the end of it, what's your goals? I'm going back to last week's goal, which was I want to get my sleep in order. I want to sleep better. I want to sleep more. So I am going to, once I finish this, I'm going to chuck something on, like, to watch, just so I've got it on in the background. I'm going to pack my bag for tomorrow, I'm going to get into bed, and I'm going to get to sleep, because your boy's going to put his blue blocking glasses on, and he's going to get 7 hours sleep a night this week. That's the goal. Apart from Friday night, where I'll be watching Hybrid Minds and having a great time. So unless I can sleep from 3 a.m. till 10 a.m, we're gonna have one day of lack of sleep, but that's what we're going to focus on this week. Gang, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. If you tuned in at all, I appreciate you. If you're watching this on the VOD, come and join us live every Sunday around 7 p.m. We do this. It goes on for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's really fun. I find it really enjoyable. Come and join the community. But yeah, my name's